Funny that it's Essendon player testing positive or something, isn't it?
Pull your finger out of your ass.
Jeez.
This is my first ever football jumper. My three votes, I should say. My three goats. My three votes for
Three
Charlie.
goats.
Oh, top of the world, mate.
What a time to be alive.
I look a bit like Nicol Bellic from GTA 4, I feel, with this.
That could get dangerous.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 77 of the Pressure Point podcast, our grand final show. Grand final week is here, arguably the best week of the year, in my opinion anyway, and grand final day is probably the best day apart from Christmas. What are your thoughts?
I think it trumps Christmas.
Trumps
Sure.
it? Okay.
Yeah, it trumps Christmas.
I didn't want to go that far, but you've done it.
No, I might be sacrilegious in saying it, but it trumps Christmas for me. I mean, it's a bit different, obviously, the last couple of years, not been able to catch up with friends and do what we'd normally do for grand final day. But I think just the spectacle of it in general, for me, it definitely trumps Christmas. And yeah, it's a massive day. And I can't believe we finally made it to the grand final show. How big is this?
It's so good. It's so good. And a bit different as well, where we're in front of the camera. It's like we're on a TV show. It's good. We've got a big screen in front of us, and we've got a lot of special guests lined up later on too. So it's exciting, and you can definitely start feeling the buzz now of grand final week. Now that we're here, we've had the week off, and the Brownlow medal was done last night. So it's all happening, which is great.
Absolutely, it is. And I mean, for those that say that, we don't listen to the fans and we don't listen to what the people want from Pressure Point, we do. We've seen the criticism saying we want both boys on camera at the same time. It's too hard to flip between the two. And you just want to see two handsome guys at the same time.
Side by side.
Now you can. So now it's there for your pleasure and your viewing. Check out the YouTube, that's for sure. And watch the videos because you don't get to see these kind of looks anywhere else.
Exactly right.
But you're right. The Brownlow was good last night, and
Yeah.
it was on. And we did dress up for the occasion and dressed our part. I thought
We were
it
there.
quite good.
We did a quick trip to Perth and just got back this morning. So it's been good.
They didn't let Eddie in, but they let us.
No, well, we're higher up.
Well,
It's the Pressure Point podcast.
we're making moves.
Yeah,
We're making
exactly.
moves.
Anyway, the Brownlow medal was on last night, and for me, it was probably the most exciting count we've had in years. You had 4 players polling over 30 votes. It was tight all night. You didn't know who was going to win it until the last round. And our very own MVP, Ollie Wines, took out the medal on 36 votes, equaling Dustin Martin's record of 36. So huge achievement from Ollie. And more importantly, I'm just glad that our MVP checked out too on Brownlow night.
Well, it just goes to show that we know what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
If you're ever in doubt of the Pressure Point podcast, look no further than the Brownlow medal.
We got Lockie Neal as well.
We did. We've absolutely nailed it on the head. So an absolute brilliant night, like you said. The count was thrilling, and probably the first one in a little while that we didn't know who was going to win up until the last round of the year, which was something different. And I know you were extra excited because Sam Walsh was right up there with the front of the pack. And I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say unexpectedly, but he probably polled in a few games early that you might not have expected him to poll in and just set himself up for a good run.
Yeah, well, I picked him to finish second before the night, as we did on our Insta stories. But no, I did not expect him to get 30 votes. That was huge. He was spectacular, really. When he was polling those votes early on in the season, in the games where I didn't think he would poll some votes in, I genuinely thought he was going to win it because I knew the games that were coming up after round 12 where he dominated and he did. He got all those 3 votes in those games, and I thought, holy shit, he's going to win this. But it was just a shame that Ollie Wines and the Bonts and Clayton Oliver had just as good of a season, if not better. And it shows. You finished 4th on 30 votes. Any other season, you win the Brownlow on 30 votes. So crazy. And it's crazy to think he's only 21 years old in his 3rd season. So the Brownlow medal's only around the corner for him.
He's got a very long career ahead of him, and it's going to be a very successful one, no doubt. I think one of the best stories from the night, and it was to me personally, and we did chat about it with Andrew Embley the other night, but Ben Cousins got the invite back to the Brownlow medal, and by all accounts, I thought he looked terrific. He sounded great. He looked like he has his life back in the right direction, which I think is fantastic to see personally. I think it's good for footy to have him that way, good for the city of Perth and WA as a whole, because he's the Prince of Perth. Everybody loves Ben Cousins over there, and to see him turn his life around was great. And I think after the Channel 7 documentary last year, where he did look still all over the place and not quite there, to see him again last night, with it, I guess is probably the best way to put it, was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a great story seeing people recover like this. I know Ben Cousins, and there's probably a lot of stories like that in society, but it's Ben Cousins and he's obviously a famous figure. So everyone gets to see it firsthand, really, being in the public eye. So it is great, and he was looking very healthy and sort of how you'd expect him to look post career, wouldn't you? Like, because he was always so fit during his playing days, and it just looks like he's carried that on a bit like Kuda, where they've just looked after themselves really well, which we know Carr's had a few issues. Probably a bad comparison, but you know what I mean with the body type and everything. Yeah.
If anything, it just speaks wonders for Cuz, considering what he's probably done to his body and what he's been through, that he's still in such good shape. I think he was one of the most, or has to be one of the most gifted physical specimens I can think of, for lack of better words, but he's just phenomenal. And yeah, I'm just so stoked that he's able to turn his life around. It's always good to see a feel good story like that.
Yeah. And while we're on the Brownlow, Dustin Martin polled the most votes for Richmond, of course, but one man did not poll a vote, and you gave him a lot of votes on the MVP pressure point voting this year. So that is something where you've gotten wrong, that's for sure. And that man is Jayden Short, who did not poll one vote.
I've been extremely critical of the umpires all year, and I stand by that at this point, because Jayden Short was a fantastic player for the Tigers this year. I thought he was a rock down back, and sadly, backmen don't get looked after the way they should in the Brownlow voting. So I think he was stiff not to poll at least one vote. He did quite well in Richmond's BNF, I thought. So for him not to poll a single vote was disappointing, and I'm sorry if I ruined any multis out there. I know there was a couple that were apparently riding on Short to poll the most for Richmond. I mean, it was probably a little silly not to go with Dusty, even though he missed a chunk of the season. But yeah, look, the umpires have been a shambles all year, and this just proves it.
Just looking at our voting from the season, Jayden Short, you gave Jayden Short 5 votes. Dusty actually did win the Richmond voting for us, so you were correct there. We probably should. I don't vote. I don't bet. I can't bet, but you should have had a look at this cheat sheet, really.
Well, I should have, but I mean, even then, I don't know. Who knows? You just don't know what the umpires are thinking. In saying that, though, I think I do know my stuff, because my top 3, which I did put on our socials, I was bang on the money. I got the top 3 spot on, and a few people were quick to point that out on the social medias, how correct I was. The trifecta, that's it. And I should have put money on that. I can bet, and I didn't, and I'm regretting it now, but it's all right. We look forward to the Brownlow and the grand final, and there's always the Norm Smith medalist and other multis I can put on. So there's things I can do. I'm not quite done for the year yet.
Exactly. All right. Well, sticking on the Brownlow theme, and we caught up with Brownlow medalist Tony Liberatore, the father of Tom Liberatore, who will be playing in the grand final this weekend. And we caught up with him to get his thoughts on the doggies this weekend and their chances. So have a listen to this, and I'll catch up with Tony earlier.
All right, Pressure Point fans, like we mentioned earlier, we have a very, very special guest on tonight for the grand final episode, and none more fitting than who I'm about to mention. We have Brownlow medalist, Bulldogs best and fairest player, Footscray Team of the Century member, and probably more importantly to Marcus and I, being Italian boys, Italian Team of the Century member, Tony Liberatore. Tony, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, guys. Nice to be speaking to you.
Absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. And obviously a big week coming up. So thank you again for joining us. Did you watch the Brownlow last night?
Oh, bits and pieces. I saw it. I saw just bits and pieces. Yeah, and obviously towards the end you watch when it's getting close. So yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, obviously the Brownlow's pretty special for you as well, winning it. Being a previous winner and going to all these events like the Brownlow medal. Run us through your experience of when you did win the Brownlow and what Ollie Wines will be feeling now, I guess.
Oh, look, for me it was a bit surreal because I was captain of the reserves the year before, and I'd only really played. It was my first full season of footy, so I played about 16 games in 4 years prior to the 1990 season. Then I got my opportunity. I didn't even get picked in the pre-season competition, so. I was lucky enough. I played the last practice match and got a game, and I did really well in the under-19s and reserves. I won some medals there, and I played the whole year, and every game was like my last game because I was that desperate to play AFL footy, but I never really got a look in because didn't think I was good enough. But I had a pretty good year and held off, hurt my knee missed the last 3 or 4 games, and lucky enough to hold on and win it by 1 vote. On, I think, 18 or 19 votes back then. So, look, I mean, Ollie would be sort of stoked. Obviously, it's a great honour, no doubt. For me, I felt like it was a bit more of a reward than anything else because I'd toured so long playing second-grade footy and then I finally got my opportunity, and then I thought, oh, this is pretty good. But no, he'll be stoked because you sort of, obviously go down in history as a past medal winner, but you don't really play footy for those reasons. You play to win premierships, and that's what I much prefer that than winning a Brownlow. But in saying that, obviously wouldn't take it back.
Oh, absolutely not. Where do you keep your Brownlow out of curiosity? It's a funny question. We've asked a couple of people now. Is it somewhere special locked away, or where do you keep the Brownlow?
Well, I'll be honest with you, just through my work, I've got a first aid business, and I, got a lot of customers that I see, face to face, and I actually used to give it to them, and they can keep it on for a week. And I like to share it around, but at the moment it's just sitting in my safe. But look, it's something that, more people like to see it. So I'm more than happy to give to someone for a week, and they grab and they go, oh, if I lose this, I'll be in big trouble. But it's more for them, because I think a lot of people just see it and they go, geez, it's so small. And but it's I generally keep it in my safe, but I sometimes pass it on to friends and work people that I trust, and I get it back off them after a week or whatever. So yeah.
I think that's the best way to be, is share it around a little bit. I remember I once had one of the replica ones, and I thought, geez, this is incredible. And then I realized it was a replica. I'm like, oh, gee, you're kidding me. So, felt a bit silly there. But like we said, we're talking about premierships, and you said they're obviously one of the most important things in a player's career. And the Dogs have a big chance again this Saturday. Yep. Almost, I don't want to say underdogs, because they were top two most of the season, but probably the last couple of rounds they dipped a little bit, and now they've just proven the footy world wrong and fired back in finals. What chances are we giving the Doggies on Saturday?
I think we've got a great chance. I mean, yes, we will be underdogs again, like 2016, and there's so many similarities to that year. And I think we've got a great chance. And the way we move the ball so quickly, speed of hand or foot, but how the ball gets moved so quickly and how precise we are if they're kicking, I think gives us a great advantage. I mean, obviously they've got a great midfielder, and they've got a great captain in Max Gawn, and they've got lots of strengths, and so have we. And it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's one of the more anticipated grand finals. That's for sure. It's just a shame that it's not in Melbourne, but it's going to be great nonetheless. But I think there's even last week there's been some comparisons between 2016 and this season. Which one would be better? I think this season might be better. But for you, how would it compare to 2016? Obviously, that was unbelievable, the drought-breaking one. But do you feel like this one could be better if they do get up?
Oh, it'd be amazing. I mean, the amount of travel that they've done from, state to state to state to state. So it'd be fantastic. I sort of look at the players individually, and I think for the group of players, they've got better individual players, I think, across the board compared to 2016, and Melbourne probably got the same. But I honestly think we're in for an enormous chance, and the way we're playing, I give ourselves a really good chance. And I'm glad we're going in as underdogs, because hopefully we'll prove the football world wrong again, that we're going to come out winners.
Well, you did it last week the week before against Adelaide, I should say. You went over there, and just the way the Bulldogs performed was unbelievable. I don't think anybody expected the performance that we saw. And moving on to the next one, we had Andrew Wembley on last night for another episode, and he was talking about presenting the Norm Smith medal this Saturday. And we wanted to ask you, who do you think will take the Norm Smith medal this week? Do you reckon Tom's a sneaky chance?
Yes, he is, actually, because he plays such a pivotal role to the side. And I think him and Bonampelli, McRae, I mean, generally they'll always be a midfielder if we win, and generally we'll go to a side that's won the game. But it'd be great if he could win one. But I think more importantly, it's all about winning the game, and a premiership would be amazing for the Bulldogs.
Do you think if the Doggies do get up this weekend, Tom will celebrate as hard as he did in 2016 and go to Vietnam again if he's able to?
No, I don't think so. It's 5 years on. He's got a couple of kids now, and so he's a little bit mellowed a hell of a lot. And he's a great father for his kids, Lotus and Oscar, and he adores them, and he spends a hell of a lot of time with them. So I think that'll be after the little celebrations. I think that he'll be keen to get back and see them, and his bulldog, which I'm looking after at the moment as well, Earl.
I hear the bulldog is actually the son of the mascot. Is that true? Or the son or daughter of the mascot?
I know there may be a relation somewhere along the line. Might be a bloodline. I'm not too sure if it's the son of the mascot, but he's asleep on my couch. I'm just looking at him now, and I've spoiled him rotten because last year they were in Brisbane, so I had him as well. So he's sort of like my pet now. So he loves me, but Tom misses him greatly, no doubt.
These Bulldogs must be a bit like us Italians. They're just all related one way or another.
Absolutely. You mentioned at the start that you've got a business. Tell us a bit about what you're up to at the moment.
Yeah, look, I've got a first aid business. I've been doing it for about 10 years, and I basically restock first aid kits and defibrillators. I sell defibrillators as well. Once someone's bought a first aid kit off me, whether it's generally it's whether it's construction, logistics, engineering, manufacturing, where there's a fair few people working at warehouses and what have you. So what I do is I generally go out on a quarterly basis and do an order on the first aid kits and replenish things like Band-Aids and eye wash and wipes and ice packs and the defibrillators are really important too. I don't actually do courses in them, but I do train people up on defibrillators. I do defibrillators, but not first aid courses as such. But it's more restocking the first aid kits and making sure that they're up to speed. And I go out there because once someone's bought one, they generally forget about them after a while. And so especially on organisations when there's 20 plus people, 50, 100 plus people, I just do an order on it and restock the first aid kits.
Beautiful. I think it's a really important thing to keep those first aid kits up to date because you'd be surprised when you need one. So we'll be putting the link to that website in our bio for this thing so everyone can jump on board and have a look. But Tony,
Thanks.
It's been short and sharp, mate, but we really appreciate you jumping on and chatting everything grand final with us. It's a big week, I know, for you and the Bulldogs as a whole. And I think we're right behind the Bulldogs this year. It's a tough one for us to pick as mutual supporters, but the Doggies are they're an inspirational story from what we've seen the last few weeks. And we wish the Bulldogs and especially your son all the best.
Thanks, guys, and good luck with your show.
Jeez, how good was that?
Very
Tony
good.
Liberatore, the
Very
Italian Team of the Century member.
Yeah, that more importantly, I reckon we should have started with that.
We probably should. Well, I saved the best till last, I think, when I went through the list of achievements that he's reeled off. And the Brownlow medal I had as first, and that just shows the importance of the Italian Team of the Century to us. So, no, it was absolutely fantastic to get Libber on, especially with his insight, having Tom playing this weekend and, him not quite getting there himself as a player was really interesting.
Yeah, and it's good to hear Tom's matured a little bit since 2016. He's got a couple of kids now and not doing Vietnam trips post grand final. So
well, I don't know if that is a good thing or not. I would have loved to have seen the Priest cut come back, Vietnam playing footy. I mean, look, Vietnam probably can't happen because of COVID anyway at the moment, but who knows? He's double vax. Vietnam might let people in. Australia might let people out. Who knows? It could have happened. But no, in all seriousness, it is good to see he's matured and he's got a family and he's a happy man, although I'd still be pretty stoked to see him with the buzz cut again.
Oh, absolutely.
The Priest cut, sorry.
It would have been great to see. But yeah, the big game is on this weekend. That is between Melbourne and the Bull.
Melbourne and the Bond.
I was going to say the Boggies.
The Boggies.
Melbourne and the Doggies. Saturday night or Saturday at twilight if you're in Perth. It's going to be a ripping grand final. We've had the week off now. It's sort of flattened it a little bit, but as we said earlier, I think now that's the start of grand final week, you can sort of feel the excitement in the air again.
Oh, 100% you can. And I think it's just Brownlow really kicked it off nicely. And I think the next couple of days are really going to start to roll in. And I'm telling you now, if I could sell a lung to get over there, I reckon I would. Yeah. It's going to be a really exciting game. It's a shame we can't watch it with friends and family, like I said earlier, but the grand final week is really starting to build up now. All the footy show, like the front bar and all those types of shows are having their grand final specials. And it's starting to feel a lot more real now. It's all starting to buzz, and yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I mean, I personally haven't experienced. I mean, I did experience my team in it in 1999, but I was only 6 or 7 years old, so I don't really have a lot of memory of it. But I'll still get so excited for grand final week and day, and I can't imagine what it'll be like when my team gets there. Whether that's in a few years or when I'm in a wheelchair. So. We'll soon find out, but it's always exciting. And I mean, you've had some really good experiences with it over the last few years.
Absolutely. I think I've actually probably had, not the best experience. Well, some of the best experiences in the sense that I've had 2 years where I was able to attend the games, have the proper build up with the grand final parade and everything going on through Melbourne. And then I had last year, obviously, the COVID game, which is going to be similar to this year. So I can sort of see where Melbourne and Bulldog supporters are coming from this week. I think the biggest thing with grand final week is even if it is your first, just to really appreciate it and soak the week in. We haven't lost one for touch wood, but even if you lose, I think it's just the week is unlike any other and the build up is crazy. I remember going down Swan Street and Punt Road and every shop window had a tiger coming out of it. It was unbelievable. And you don't get that feeling any other time of the year. So I think the biggest thing for Melbourne and Bulldogs fans this year is just to really soak it up and, make the most of the week, even if it's not the result you want at the end of the year, so be it, but just really, make the most of this week.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Very excited for it. And these two teams as well, they had some massive prelim wins and they've got stars all over the ground, especially in their midfield. I think it's going to be won and lost through there. Obviously got Max Gawn, who dominated last week in the ruck for the D's, and they've got Petrarca, Oliver, Viney. They've got Salem running through there as well. They've got a star-studded team. And then you look at the Bulldogs who've, they've got Tim English in the ruck. Then you've got Bontempelli, Treloar, Bailey Smith, Liberatore. It's scary, and it's going to be won or lost through there, I reckon.
100% it is, 100%. I mean, I can't really see. I can't really see any other part of the ground winning the game or losing the game for either side. It's definitely going to be throughout that midfield with all the guns that are running through it. And like I said, I think I'll be supporting Libba pretty heavily this week after having his old man on the show. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope he wins the Norm Smith just for Libba. I think Tony did say he was there's a sneaky chance for it, so it'd be good to see him get up.
He said he was a good chance. He was very confident in his boy, which it's like you should as a dad.
He's had a great season.
100% he has. Probably underappreciated. Did you see last night when he got his first vote for the year? And everyone was like, "How did it take this long?" Like he'd been a gun all year, so he's every chance to win the Norm Smith, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, shall we get to the passionate Melbourne fans that we spoke to earlier?
Absolutely, we should cut across because this is some quality content, especially for Melbourne supporters.
So have a listen to the chat that we had with a couple of Melbourne supporters down in Melbourne to get their thoughts on this weekend's game. All right, we are joined by some very special Melbourne fans. We've got Frank Costantino, Fraser Inglis, and Tristan Potts. Lads, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers for having us, boys.
Pumped.
Absolutely pumped. You all look pumped. I love the merge. What have you got there in the background, Frank and Fraser?
Got a vintage Melbourne rug with the old school emblem on there. Probably circa 1990s of some sort. But it's
It is brilliant.
I've been hanging it from the balcony the last week.
That would have to be one of the better Melbourne logos, wouldn't you think?
It's a great logo. It's unreal, isn't it?
I think all the 90s logos are probably prime AFL logos. I reckon they're the better ones.
Yeah,
we should be redeeming them. We've gone more Melbourne these days.
Very good. Love it. All right. Well, obviously it's the big dance this weekend. We've got you on for that. And I know Frank and Fraser, you've been very patient trying to get on this podcast. I know I spoke to you a while ago, Fraser, you wanted to jump on. So, we'll start with you, Potsy. Obviously, you've been away for the last couple of years, so you haven't seen a lot of the Ds, and you've come back at a good time, even though you haven't been able to go to the games. But give us your thoughts and feelings this weekend, and how's your nerves now that grand final week is officially here?
Well, the first week's been pretty much mainly excitement, but I have been watching a lot of the Ds, mate. Been getting up at 3 a.m. In Canada and watching it prime time. But it's been a good journey. We've won 10 in a row, or 9 in a row to start the season, which was outstanding. And just watching the way they play and their structures, it just gives us a lot of confidence going into this week. So pretty pumped. This week should go hopefully pretty quickly as we wind in closer to Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you boys, Frank and Fraser?
Look, we got to go to a few games, didn't we? And then when it started, the roll started to happen, we were like, fuck, what is going on? So after about 9, maybe 10 or 11 rounds in, we decided to upgrade the membership, and we were like, let's go. Like, we're a chance here. We got ourselves reserve seats and the grand final ticket guarantee, and people laughed, as you would. Cause
I definitely did.
Crazy to think that, you're a chance of making the granny, but fuck. I mean, it paid off and then it didn't. So,
yeah. No, you go, Fraser. Sorry.
Yeah, just in like my brief time in the AFL, my AFL history has only been since 2019, and just each week being able to go with the boys, like, and especially like the lockdown has kind of like allowed me to be more invested in it because I've been watching every game, and like in 2019 I could barely tell you any of the rules, any of the players. But Sauces says I'm a full-blown nuffy now. So,
well, Marcus has told me a little bit about your story. I want you to touch on it just a little bit for us all. Obviously, like you said, before 2019, you didn't really know much about the D's, but where did your Melbourne journey begin and how did you jump on board with the D's? Because obviously you're one of the luckier Melbourne supporters. It hasn't exactly been through all the same heartbreak that some of the other boys have, but where did your Melbourne journey begin?
I'd say it began when I first met Frank, when I was traveling in Southeast Asia. We met in Laos. And actually, when I met him, he was watching a Melbourne game, and I didn't have a clue what he was watching or anything like that. And I said to him, I was like, I'm thinking about going to Australia at the end of my travels, maybe like a year's time. He was like, if you do, come to Melbourne. I was like, right, I'll think about it. And then I went to Vietnam, and I was like, right, I'm going to go to Australia. I texted him, and he was like, come to Melbourne. Came to Melbourne, couldn't get a job anywhere, couldn't get a job in the bar. I went, Frank, I need a job. And he's like, no stress, I'll sort you out, I'll get you a job where I work. So I ended up working where he worked. And then he was like, look, come out with the boys on the weekend. We'll go watch the footy. We went and watched Saints Melbourne Saints for him and Richo's birthday. And it was just sensational. There's like, must have been like 15, 20 of us, just like from the terracing, from the stands, like not really watching the game, but the atmosphere is just different to anything I've watched in sport. Like growing up with like football in England, it's like very aggressive, like watching it, and it's like home and away, and yeah, it's very different. But like watching the footy here, it's just like, it's a really nice like culture, nice buzz around the game. Like everyone gets stuck into one another, but they're not like, fuck, I'm going to rip your guts out in the next second. Well, maybe sometimes they are, but I haven't really seen that. And yeah, and even like the first year we came second last, like the 2019 season. So that was pretty shit. But for me, it was just good to get out and watch us every week because that's how I've met like my friendship group now. And then the next year we obviously came ninth and we're still pretty bang average. And then this year's just been unreal. Like the group of players just look like they just love playing with one another, and they just seem like genuinely good blokes.
Yeah, and you can see that. You can see. I think it was a few weeks ago after the game, Petrarca was almost he was in tears, I should say, crying after the game. But it was something quite phenomenal. And I'll go back down to you, Potsy, now. And what do you say your highlights of this season would be for the D's? There's obviously been quite a few, but what would you say your biggest highlights of the season have been?
Plenty of highlights. You can pretty much go from round 4 onwards. 4 in a row, 5 in a row, 6 in a row, 7 in a row. We never thought would happen, and we just kept ticking them along. It was quite incredible. But you know, we've all heard in the media, we're sort of just holding our breaths because all we want is final success. So just patiently waiting still. But you can't go past that last game with Max Gawn kicking it after the siren, and just all the emotions boiling over was just incredible. So definitely have to go with the last game, I think.
Yeah. What about you, Frank?
For me, it's just the consistency. Being a Melbourne supporter, it's like you're just waiting for them to just fuck it up. And you're just like, is it coming? Is it coming? It's 8 in a row. It's 9 in a row. It's like, oh, here we go. It's coming. It's coming. Silly. And we had a little dip and then we're like, oh, here we go. We're going to stuff it up now. And then bang, like we just proved everyone wrong, and just game after game, just so consistent across the board. I think everyone's had just an absolute breakout year for us. So yeah, it's hard not to be unhappy.
Yeah. Sure. Fraser?
I feel like the games this year have been as stressful as the couple of years before for me. Like, because we kind of always look like we might lose. But we're so sure, you know, like we're not going to go out and fucking spank a team by 100 points every game. Like I think we've done that like once this year. but we'll go toe to toe with the side for 3 quarters, and then we'll just edge them out in the last quarter every time. And we almost know in ourselves that we're going to do that. And like, there's so much confidence in our back line. Like, no one's getting a sniff past Lever and May. And then we've even got like Tomlinson went out early in the season and we thought, fuck, we're in trouble here. And then Petty's come absolutely out of nowhere. And he's as strong as May and Lever now in that back line.
Yep, absolutely. Now they're all great. Yeah. Makes me so jealous just hearing what you guys are talking about. It gives me a lot of hope being a Carlton supporter, that's for sure. What about your most improved and your biggest surprise packet for this season? There's obviously going to be a fair few. I'll start with you, Potts. Who's been your surprise packet?
Surprise packet, that's a tough one. We've seen the potential in all the boys for so long, so it's hard to say. I mean, you easily hype up your own players, don't you? But I think the biggest win for me was seeing Harry Petty come in. When Tomlinson went down, we just need another role player, but he's come in and held his own. He's been intercept marking. He's pretty critical to that back line now. We don't really need to, like Fraser said, rely on just Lever or May. You know, you see Petty come in and intercept and just play his role and dominate. So Harry Petty, he's definitely stood up and impressed me. He's someone we didn't really see too much of the past following years. So probably go with Harry Petty. It's also been good to see consistency out of our small forwards as well, like Neil Bullen, Cozzy, and Spargo. So yeah, go with those.
Yeah. Well, you guys, Frank?
For me, I'm going to go with Luke Jackson. You look at like a second-year ruckman, or I think pretty sure he's second year. You expect him to be like a 5-year like project player, like to have no impact, being like a small frame-ish when he started. Like, he's still a big boy, but this year he's one of our best. Like, he's absolute pivotal to our success next Saturday. Like, we need him. He's just a perfect combination with Gorney, and he's edged someone like Sam Weedman out of the side.
Outrageous.
And it's hard to believe that he's only like 19, 20 years old. So I think he's a huge surprise packet.
But Weedman still had a day out against Carlton. So
Yeah, I was just about to say, you love Wiedemann. You love the Wiedemann chant or whatever it is.
Oh, no.
So who's been your surprise packet then, Fraser?
It's got to be Fritsch.
Yeah.
I think
thought he might get a bench.
I think like early doors, like we've been gagging for a tall forward to come in and kick all our goals, and it just didn't happen. Like T-Mac turned up, but no one was really, because obviously Ben Brown was injured at the start of the year. Weedman wasn't really firing when he came in, but Bailey Fritsch just kind of kept us level at Holden. Like I said, we never blew a team out of the water, but we obviously kick enough goals to win the game. And it was kind of, if Fritsch didn't score them, then I don't know where else they were already coming from at the start of the season. But yeah, Fritsch's been unreal, like especially for his role. And he seems very understated. Like, he's not like big in the media, not really big with the fans either, but he's always kicked 7 the other week.
Very underrated. He kicked 7 the week and didn't get 3 votes.
Outrageous.
Outrageous.
Yeah, the voting
Was that the Adelaide game, wasn't it?
7 and 5 this year.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
Yeah, some of the voting last night was a little bit bizarre to me. I think Jack McRae had 2 games with like 40 disposals and didn't get a single vote for those either. So I don't know what was. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. But we got the Norm Smith as well award, which is obviously going to be awarded at the end of the game, and usually it goes to a player in the winning side. And let's just presume that Melbourne will win. Who do you boys think is going to come away with the Norm Smith medal? I know the obvious ones would be your Petrarcas or your Clayton Oliver or even Gawn, but you guys have got so many stars on your side that could honestly, have a massive performance like a Bailey Fritsch and just take it away. So Potsy, I'll let you go first. Who do you reckon is most likely for Norm Smith?
Yeah, like you said, it's probably out of 2 or 3 that you're most likely to see winning it. If I was going to put my money on anyone, I'd probably go with Clary. He's just a beast when we need him to be, but it could go either way with Clary, Petrarca, or even Viney. He's just come finals. He's an absolute beast as well. He's so important to our midfield. But yeah, maybe as a smoky, you could see it could go the other way. They could swing it around to a defender if Lever just goes sick and just chops them off. I'd love to see that. But yeah, could be any one of those. we'd love to see Cozzy just absolutely tear it up, wouldn't we?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
hit the bag and just dominate.
I think he's got the absolute potential to as well, because he's just such an excitement machine. And we've seen blokes like that win Norm Smith before. So I reckon he's definitely every chance. What about you, Frank and Vraze?
I think Cozzy for me, 100% Cozzy. I'd love to see him get it. You see when he drops a shoulder in the first 30 seconds of the game, he's on, and he looks hot, and he's just one of those small forwards that just picks up anything from anywhere. So I'd love to see him get it. He wouldn't say much in the interview, but I wouldn't mind him getting it.
For me, Smokey, I'd probably go with Christian Salem off half back. If he gets a hold of the pill, I just love the way he uses the footy, and I think if he's rebounding off that half back line, it's been done before by half back, so he's a chance for sure.
Yeah,
I think
just stars all across that team when you think about it, isn't there? Like any of those blokes can easily win it. So it's gonna be great.
100%. It's crazy how many blokes you actually have the ability to win that. And we obviously condone gambling responsibly here, but we were having a look at the odds before, and someone like a Jack Viney is still paying $21 to win the Norm Smith. So you look at someone like that. If you were to think of Christian Salem, I reckon he'd be almost up in the 30s to win it. So it's bizarre, to be honest, with how well the guys have been playing. So
Yeah, gamble responsibly.
yeah, gamble responsibly, of course. But if you want to have a look at the odds, they're on Sportsbet. So
All right. We presume Melbourne are going to win. How much are they winning by? Pots.
Crazy question, mate. Let's go. Hopefully not close. I don't think I could deal with a close game, honestly. Just give us 6 goals.
It would be too much.
Quarter time, 6 goals up, it just stays that way.
I'll be sick.
No heart attacks.
What about you boys?
Mm,
No, 19 points.
fuck.
Comfortable?
fuck.
An uncomfortable 19.
An uncomfortable
Yeah,
19.
it's gonna be uncomfortable.
They're always a sniff, but we just edge them out.
Oh, I don't want it to be a nail biter, but at the same time, if we win a nail biter, geez, that would be memorable.
Crazy.
I've never had a feeling like I have when Gorney kicked after the siren the last against Geelong.
Oh,
That was actually insane.
Imagine that happens again.
I
It'd be too much.
I genuinely cry.
The roof will erupt at Barncroft Crescent. That's for sure.
I think in a grand final, that's too much. I don't know if I could
I don't think
personally
it's
handle a
has it been
close
done,
margin.
a goal after the siren. I don't think it has been done in a grand final.
No, not that I
Crazy.
know of. I
Do
think.
you reckon teams come out more cagey in a grand final?
Oh, for sure, you'd think so. You'd have to think so. I
You
mean,
look at the 2 prelims where Melbourne absolutely spanked them. Doggies absolutely spanked Port. They didn't really come out and challenge it from minute 1, did they?
I don't know, but I've heard a stat the other day. The average losing margin in a grand final for like the past 10 years is like 38 points or something.
Shit.
So
I think my Tigers might have a bit to do with that, with the
blowing out the
82
margins.
point margin we had a
Yeah.
couple of years ago.
it does blow out. It doesn't matter who. It's just got to come to play, I guess. But
Yeah, exactly. Well, I reckon it's going to be a great game. What do you think? I'm thinking a D's. I reckon D's by a goal.
I'm as a mutual supporter, I really want to see a close game. I know, as you know, you guys wouldn't be thinking that at all, but I want the closest game we could possibly get. And I know we said to Libba when he was on that, we're sort of edging towards the Doggies, but that's just because Libba was on. But I think if we're being realistic, I think we're saying that the D's.
Let's hope Libba's not listening.
Yeah,
to
let's
this
hope
part.
Libba doesn't actually listen to the podcast. But I reckon the D's will get it done. They just, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I think they're giving me a little bit of Richmond 2017 vibes where everything is just going perfect for the D's at the moment. No injuries. Everyone's firing at the right time. It's just, I think the fairy tale is going to be written on Saturday.
yeah, well, let's fucking hope so.
Love it. All right, lads. Well, it's been a pleasure having you guys on, and all the best this weekend, and hope the D's get up, and I'll absolutely try joining the celebrations with you. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Cheers, boys.
Let's go, D's.
Thanks,
Go
fellas.
D's.
Thanks,
Fair,
boys.
boys.
See you later. How good is that? Absolute legends.
That's passion for you. That's absolute passion. Let me tell you, Fraser surprised me personally. I thought, for someone that's so new to the game, so knowledgeable, especially about, well, maybe not the past, as we mentioned earlier, but definitely with what's happening at the moment, he's all over it. And I'm just stoked for all 3 of those boys, just to, for them to see the passion that they're feeling at the moment with their team in the grand final.
Yeah, it is great to see. I've known Potsy and Frank for a very long time, and I've seen the hard times that they've gone through, very similar to what Carlton is at the moment and what Carlton has been for a long time. So to see them and see them come out of it and now experience the good times and be in a grand final is crazy. I never would have expected that. I just remember them always being down about the D's and never having any faith and completely giving up on them. So to see that is it's crazy. I'm very happy for them. And then Fraser, he's only been here, not even 3 years, and the passion that he has for the club is crazy. He didn't even know what the game was 3 years ago. So they're all great mates of mine, and I do hope they get up for them. It's going to be one wild weekend, that's for sure, if they do get up.
Jeez, it's I won't want to be anywhere near their suburb if they get up this weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy, but considering where that club's been through and what those boys have been through, I'd love to see the D's get up, and I guess that leads us onto our tips for the weekend too, doesn't it?
It does. It's the hard decisions and the hard choices for this week, but we're going to make them. That's what we do here on the podcast. Yeah. So,
who are you? What do you give us your Premier and Norm Smith?
It's tough. I've been trying to think all week who I want to win and who I think will win, and I think they're different. Obviously, I want Melbourne to win for the fairy tale. It's been so many years. They've been deprived of success for so long, but I've just always had a soft spot for the Doggies for some reason. And I know they won it in 2016, and that was unbelievable. But I don't know. It's real hard for me to pick these two teams apart. I think if I have to choose a winner, it's going to be Melbourne. I think it's going to be really tight. Like I told the boys, I think it'll be a really tight game. And Norm Smith, I think Tim Watson said this on SEN today, but I'm going to go with Jack Viney. If you look at his final series that he's had so far, he's been probably underappreciated when, you compare him to Petrarca, Oliver and Gawn, but he's been phenomenal for the D's. And I reckon he's a very sneaky chance at claiming the Norm Smith this week.
Yep, I like it. Mine's pretty similar. I'm going to go Melbourne by 6 points. And I think Christian Petrarca for the Norm Smith. I know it's not a different selection. He's probably the favourite. But I feel like if Melbourne win, Petrarca kicks a couple of goals, and they're usually really good goals as well. He stands out when he plays. He's a big game player. And I think if Melbourne win, Petrarca has a good game. It's hard not to give him the Norm Smith, to be honest.
It's hard to look past Petrarca. Like you said, it's the goal kicking that does it for him, I think. I mean, you look at the past Norm Smith medal winners, they've all kicked goals. I mean, Dusty's won the last two, but he kicked 4 in both games. So, I mean, Petrarca's that type of player. He's that bull in the midfield and he scores. So I can 100% see why you've gone with Petrarca there. And I know it's going to be one of the popular choices, but for good reason. Yeah,
I'd love to choose someone different, but I just feel like if Melbourne win, Petrarca's going to have a good game, or he has to have a good game. And he just stands out just with his physique and the way he plays as well. So I think Melbourne by a goal and Petrarca to win the Norm Smith. So it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day.
It's going to be massive. It's going to be massive. It's the build-up's been big. It's been 2 weeks since the prelims. So unusual times, but yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. And I'm just can't express how excited I am. I'm lost for words. It's grand final week. I'm stoked.
Yeah, it's going to be good. All right. Well, that is pretty much us done for this episode. Our grand final special. It's been fun. Definitely the most enjoyable episode, I reckon. Well, our regular Monday night episode all year, I reckon.
Oh, by far. By a long shot. We had the boys on. We had Tony Liberatore, Libba. I mean, says itself. So, yeah, it's been fantastic.
It's been great. But, yeah, as I say, every week, make sure you leave us a review. Subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Review us. They're very important. It helps us keep the show going and it helps get the show out there. So, keep them coming through and enjoy grand final week. Have a great grand final day, and hope if you go for the doggies or the D's, I hope one of them gets up for you.
The boggies.
And we're going to cut that last bit out, that's for sure.